Is that not a fair assessment, Joe? It doesn't represent our movement? Then say that. There's a disastrous situation brewing in Wisconsin right now with more street violence and riots from BLM, which is a Marxist terror group, and Antifa, which is a fascist terror group. And CNN's starting to find out the hard way, along with Democrat activists, Joe Biden, and others, that, again, as I said to Joe, being sarcastic, because sometimes it's the only way to pierce the bubble of liberal stupidity, that shockingly, people don't like it when their cities are burned down. Wow, amazing. This is a revelation to CNN. But they're still trying to gaslight you nonetheless, Joe. They've done it again. Do you remember weeks ago, and I'll put up the tweet in a moment after this, but you remember weeks ago when MSNBC's Ali Velshi was at one of the Minnesota riots where the building was literally, not figuratively, burning down the background? What did he say to her? It's mostly peaceful. Mostly, except for the city burning down, it's mostly peaceful, don't you worry. After hilarity ensued and everybody just ripped MSNBC to shreds, Freudian slip, CNN decided to pick up the mostly peaceful torch, pun intended, and run with it. Here is a commentator from CNN again in front of a burning building, Joe, insisting, don't worry, it's mostly peaceful as long as you didn't burn alive in that building behind me. Check this out.
What you're seeing behind me is one of multiple locations that have been burning in Kenosha, Wisconsin over the course of the night. A second night since Jacob Blake was seen shot in the back 7 times by a police officer. And what you are seeing now, these images came and come in stark contrast to what we saw over the course of the daytime hours in Kenosha and into the early evening, which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement. It wasn't until night fell that things began to get a little bit more contentious.
What? This really, remember that? We have to get that clip. I don't even know what DMCA rules are on that movie clips. Remember that? What was it movie with the wedding party people and what's the movie? What's the movie? The Hangover. The Hangover with the dopey brother-in-law and the guy does that laugh. What? The buildings. The reporter has literally a gas mask around his neck with like goggles to cover his eyes, which. Last time I checked, you don't wear those to mostly peaceful rallies. Listen, I know this is tough for liberals to understand. I'm headed over to the White House tonight for this rally for President Trump's reelection acceptance speech. I'm not telling you to pat myself on the back. I'm not bringing a gas mask because it's going to be mostly peaceful. I'm like, Paulie, you got the gas mask? Are we allowed to bring that in with Secret Service? We don't need it because it will be actually mostly peaceful. The guy's got a gas mask on his head. He said, don't worry. It was mostly peaceful most of the day until it wasn't, and people got shot and buildings started burning down. Other than that, it was definitely mostly peaceful. Now, can you imagine at the March for Life rally, which is legitimately all peaceful every year in D.C., which happens in the freezing cold, and hundreds of thousands of people show up. Remember the March for Life rally where Nicholas Sandmann was accosted by the Native American elder and others? If the March for Life rally, which is a conservative cause, saving lives and all, if there was one fire in a garbage can accidentally set at the March for Life rally, it would be described by the same reporters at CNN and MSNBC. It would be described as total street chaos, absolute anarchy, violent protesters everywhere. Matter of fact, just to highlight my example from Nick Sandmann, who gave a great speech, which we covered the night before, who was accosted on the Lincoln Memorial at the March for Life rally because he had a MAGA hat on. You can go to a rally that's conservative, stand there, say nothing like Sandmann didn't, and have a red hat on, get accosted by Native American elders and others, and you're described as the violent ones. Yet when you burn a city down in Kenosha in Minnesota, don't you worry. It's mostly peaceful. Now you know why the media's reputation is that of an unflushed toilet. By the way, here's a reminder, Hat Tip Daily Caller from their Twitter feed, of when Ali Velshi said, I want to be clear on how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It's not generally speaking unruly as a building burns in the background. Folks, listen, even Paul is laughing. They legitimately think you're idiots and imbeciles. I'm not kidding. They really think you're stupid. that you're watching burning cities across America and that you really believe they're gaslighting that, don't worry, it's mostly peaceful. I see Marie Harf say this on Fox all the time and other liberal talking heads. We can't attribute this to the protest. Then why aren't the protesters speaking out? Sorry to yell. I ran for office. If I had a Dan Bongino for Congress rally, I'm not running for office. I'm just saying, if I had one now, I'm not running to be clear, but say I was. And I invited people, whatever, family or friends who showed up and started wrecking the place, right? It's a serious thing. I'm trying, because liberals are really stupid. They don't get it otherwise, especially liberal media idiots. If I invite a bunch of my own friends and family who proceed to burn the hall down while we're having this announcement, it's my responsibility the next day to come out and denounce this and say, this doesn't represent my campaign. So what I don't understand is the fact these protesters and the liberal talking heads who defend them keep saying, this isn't representative of the movement. Where the hell's the movement? Where is the BLM Marxist representatives out every day saying, we are nonviolent? This is a peaceful movement. We thoroughly renounce Antifa and others who are engaging in the street violence. Where are they, folks? The answer is they're nowhere. I was going to say something I didn't want to say. They're nowhere.
Thank you.
Is that not a fair assessment, Joe? It doesn't represent our movement? Then say that.
You just heard Dan Bongino.